Branding is not your website. It's not your fonts. It's not your colors. That's the fun part of it. That's the outside of your brand. But your brand and your business is a person. You have to develop their identity. You have to develop their personality. It's kind of the boring stuff. The part that takes the most work, but a lot of coaches don't talk about, is really developing the person your brand is.
Welcome to the Mompreneur Life Remix podcast, where you will learn how to remix your mompreneur life so that you can win at work without losing yourself in the process. Hi, my name is Martine Williams, and I am your host and CEO, your Chief Encouragement Officer. And this podcast is your one-stop shop to creating a burnout-proof life and business and elevating your clarity, confidence, and courage. Friends, it's time to say goodbye to being the yes girl and hello to creating healthy boundaries, healthy mindsets, and healthy habits. Your next breakthrough starts here. This is the Mompreneur Life Remix podcast. Let's do this. Well, hey friends, happy Thursday. Happy podcast Thursday. Welcome to the show. I'm excited about today's Turquoise Talk guest, Mallory McGary. She is your go-to brand strategist for turning dreams into dollars. With a flair for all things fabulous and a sprinkle of strategic magic, Mallory is on mission to help coaches and experts craft brands that are as unique as they are. Y'all know I'm all about creating unique opportunities, using your unique strengths. So this is so in alignment with my message. Picture your brand not just making waves, but creating a tidal wave of consistent income. That's the kind of magic that Mallory brings to the table. In Mallory's world, it's not just about logos and colors. We definitely dive into that into this episode. It's about creating a brand that feels like a warm hug to your audience. She has a knack for translating your essence into a brand that's not only eye-catching, but also speaks directly to the hearts of your ideal clients. That's what we want, right? As business owners. It's like giving your business a makeover, but with Mallory, it's more than just skin deep. It's a transformational experience that leaves your brand strutting confidently into the spotlight. So if you're ready to sprinkle some brand brilliance into your coaching journey, Mallory McGary is your secret weapon. She is not just your brand strategist, she is your brand BFF, guiding you through the glittery path of building a signature brand that's both fabulous and financially rewarding. This episode, again, we're talking all about brand, and I know you're going to love this. So maybe it's time for a refresh on your brand, or maybe you want to streamline a little bit more on that. I'm so excited. So let's get to this. Here's Mallory. Well, hey friends, welcome back to the Mompreneur Life Remix podcast. I'm so excited about today's Turquoise Talk guest, Mallory McGary. Did I say that right?
You did.
Awesome. Well, I'm so excited to chat with you today. So for those that are just listening for the first time and hearing you for the first time, tell us a little bit about you, your story, how you became an entrepreneur, why you became an entrepreneur.
Just all the things.
Yes.
Really. I am a mom of two. I have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. Both of them are IVF babies. So I started my entrepreneurial journey, I think, right about the time that I got pregnant with my son. I had just come off of a miscarriage, really feeling like down in the dumps, all sorts of all the emotions of pregnancy and everything like that. I got pregnant with my son, and I decided that corporate life is not it for me, that I really wanted to be more present in his life. I wanted to grow up with him. I wanted to have that experience of just being with him, but I still wanted to keep my identity as who I was, because he was born when I was 32. So I had a long career life, right? That was everything that I had built in my life. Was my identity was based around accomplishments in a career and things like that. So I realized I couldn't completely cut that part of me off. That would feel like I was cutting off a limb.
Right.
And I wanted to still have something that was just mine, that I could also include both my kids now in that experience, teach them what it is to be an entrepreneur, because kind of the way the world is shifting is, even if you have a corporate job or you're still an entrepreneur, you still have kind of your own personal brand. You see a lot of real estate people on Instagram or on social media. You see a lot of like corporate people, lawyers and things like that. just, you can still have a personal brand. So I wanted to also have that to integrate into their lives to help them be more successful as they get older and grow up. And also to know that no matter how old you are, that you can always still go for your dreams, that your dreams are always changing, that you can always have that ambition to go for what you believe in, what you want your life to look like. And there's no limit. There's no like, if you don't make it by X time, then you have to give up on it, or you you're not going to make this happen. So like give up on it. So it became kind of a multi-level thing for me, and the benefit for my family, the benefit for me, and just overall, like the benefit of helping other women know that they can do the same thing, that if they have a dream, they can go for it. There's nothing that should hold them back from going for that dream.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. My son, I have two boys, 18 and 15, getting ready to be 16 and 19. And, they all they've known is entrepreneurship. I mean, my oldest was one when I first started my entrepreneur journey. So that's literally like all they know. And my husband's also owns his own business. And so it is really cool for them to see that side. And I do think the culture is kind of shifting towards that. Like I know people who are, physicians that are also entrepreneurs, have something else that they're, so it's like having these multiple streams of income and just being able to have that mindset as an entrepreneur, I think is great for anyone, whether you decide to pursue it full-time or part-time. But so my oldest, he's first year in college and trying to figure out what he wanted his major to be. And, he's going to minor in entrepreneurship. And he's like, I just know that I want to be an entrepreneur. Right. And, but I think there's also like, they don't see the behind the scenes, right, of all the hard work that goes along with that. I'm trying to teach him that now that he's old enough to understand, like, look, Betty, it's not like your business comes in a box and like, here's all the instructions and there you go. like it takes work. I know that you see us enjoying the flexibility and the freedom of working for ourselves, but it does require work. It does require intention and discipline. And so it's just, I love that you're modeling that, for your family and for so many women that you serve as well. So your business is beautifully blooming. Is that right?
Yep.
That kind of the overarching theme. I love that. Tell me about that name. Like, how did you come up with that name? Like, what does that encompass for you or for the women that you help?
This is like one of my favorite questions. And I didn't really think about it as I was building out my business, but I really love to plant flowers. I'm not a gardener. Like I can kill succulents inside. So I'm a much better outdoor planter. And I love being in gardens. So like when I go on vacation or whatever, I try to find a garden or something to go look at, something that's just explores the beauty. And I was in my flower bed one day, just planting. And I realized like, this is what life is, that everybody's just a different flower. And you don't clump all of the petunias next to each other and all the roses next to each other. And then all the daisies, like they don't section off. They're intermixed because that's what makes the garden look beautiful. That's what makes like the aesthetic really pleasing. And you need the different flowers for all the different things, right? Like bees and whatnot. And so when I came up with my name of Beautifully Blooming, it was early spring. And I was planting and I just had that thought of like, this is what life is. And everybody's a different type of flower. But we all need each other because we need to have each other for different reasons, to collaborate and to work together in different talents, different strengths, all that sort of thing. But everybody's just blooming on their own and every flower is beautiful on their own, but they're also beautiful, like exponentially beautiful around the other flowers that really enhance that beauty. And so that's really what I wanted to share with the world too, is that you're your own flower and you're beautiful the way that you are, but let's hone in and like network and learn how to build off of other skills and collaborate and find people that want to be in your space and are in your space, because entrepreneurship is a totally lonely journey, as we know. Sitting behind your own screen and not really having anyone to talk to and it's hard to explain to people that aren't necessarily in that world, kind of what that looks like. So it's also about creating that community of like-minded people, all on the same journey. Granted, everybody's at different phases, what that looks like, but you're all on the same journey and can understand that, oh, this is kind of lonely, but I really want to talk to somebody about how to scale a business or create a course while I'm trying to learn how to potty train for me, for what that looks like, for setting my kids, like being able to go around my kids' extracurricular activities, what that looks like, and have advice and support from what that looks like around in a community.
Yeah. A couple of years ago, my word for the year, I don't know if you do that, was cultivate. And, when you're talking about gardening, I'm such a visual person. And when you were talking, it reminded me of that quote where it says, the flower doesn't compare itself to the flower next to it. It just blooms.
Yep.
And I think that when I read that, your branding and your messaging, that's what I thought of. There's so many of us that we just compare what everyone else is doing instead of just standing in our confidence and blooming.
Yes.
and not looking at what everyone else. We can learn from other people, but don't compare what you're doing because we're all in different seasons. My kids are older. Your kids are younger. How you do your business is going to be different than how I do my business based on the season that we're in, the time and the capacity that we have. And the other thought that came up for me was that same year we were like pruning back our palm trees, and we all need a pruning process, right? Cutting away the things that are no longer serving us. But what was funny is these two palms, literally side by side, one of them grew faster than the other. And as a coach, like everything means something to me. I mean, I can take a story or a visual and put it into some type of coaching analogy. And again, it was just one of those things, like they both got pruned at the exact same time. And one, for whatever reason, went faster than the other, and it's not right or wrong. It's just sometimes that's the way life works. You could put the same things in, but for whatever reason, there's just a slower harvest or slower growth. And progress is still progress. And I know we could talk about that as well. But tell me a little bit about this idea of confidently evolving your business, because I know that there's probably some listeners that maybe that's where they're at in the season of life. And if they listened to a previous episode that I did, it was all about, evolving versus revolving. Like we can be in that revolving door and push it as hard as we want. It's still going in circles, right? We're not going anywhere. We're still just, you can work harder, hustle harder, but you're still pushing yourself in a circle. So tell us a little bit about how to confidently evolve the business.
So where this came from for me was I had two other, along my entrepreneurial journey, I started two other businesses, found out that one, they weren't really aligned with what I wanted in the world. But as a coach, when you start out, it's like, this is totally what I want. And then you find out that, that's not quite where I wanted to go. So you either quit completely or you pick up something else and try again. And so by letting two different businesses die before I started Beautifully Blooming, it was trying to figure out really what sat with me really well. And there are pieces of both of those businesses that are currently in my business, but they weren't aligned with where I was, what I wanted to do, how I wanted to help people. I started in like the health and fitness space, doing kind of an overall wellness type of program where there were recipes and exercise routines and like mindset things. So it's kind of like all the pillars of like wellness. And I cannot talk about fitness all the time because I'm just not that person. That's not like, that's not my jam. I work out, right? Because I like to stay healthy and do those things that require that, but it's not my full-time passion.
Right.
I wouldn't say I get up every day and I'm like, I gotta go lift weights today, or I gotta ride the bike, or some days it's a real trudge to get there. And so I couldn't model exactly what I wanted to share with the world. I wanted to be able to have someone look at my messaging, my website, my Instagram, and be like, hey, if she can do that, I can do that.
Right.
And have that type of thing in there. And so confidently evolving is really finding those things that really sit in alignment with you and really what your core values are. That was the really base foundation that I had missed the first times of business. When I started, it was like shiny object syndrome for everyone of trying to get to the next 10K month or do X thing or get this X result. And I bought into all of it.
It's so easy to do. It's so easy to do. Yes. That's the love-hate relationship with social media, right? We see all the things people are doing. We're like, oh, let me try that. Oh, let me try that. It's working for her. Let me try that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I bought into all of that, but it never really, I didn't have that foundational of like, what really is my brand? What really is what I want to represent? Who really am I in this business space? And so when I started to scale back and look at those things, I realized that missing that huge step really put me a lot farther behind in my business than I actually thought or even imagined that it could have. But when I sat down and did that, it was like, okay, now I can confidently know the direction I want to go, because these are the things that are important and these are the things I want to put out in the world. And these things don't really matter. And so I took the time, by taking the time to do that, I could confidently evolve and grow my business to where it is now, because I had that piece of these things serve me, these things don't, and allowed me to kind of set boundaries in my business that were important for the season of life I was in, the season of my business I was in, of I'm trying to like rebuild it and figure out what it is that it was. Okay, I'm not distracting myself with all of those shiny objects, even though they sound really appealing and they are awesome. And there's a lot of great tools out there.
Yeah.
But it started to become a flood of conflicting information where I was staying stuck rather than moving forward, because it was this guru says this and this expert said this, but they don't align and they don't match.
Yeah.
And so who's really right? Who's really wrong? And neither could be wrong or right. They're kind of indifferent. It's really what's dependent upon you. But it just left me stuck and going, I'm not evolving anywhere because I'm trying to listen to so many voices that I stopped listening to my own voice.
Yeah. Yeah. That is such a key element. And I think why so many dreams die, and so many visions die, because it's just, again, we're not listening to our own, what our brain is telling us is right for us. And we're not leaning into what our natural strengths and abilities are to build our business. If someone doesn't have, I do a lot of work on personality and performance. That's like the foundation of my coaching, is for my clients to see, like, this is how you're naturally wired in your strengths, so that you can use that now to optimize your performance in all areas of your life, and not shame yourself for being a certain way or not like her or like him, but standing in that confident energy versus that proving energy where you feel like you have to prove to yourself or to others that deserve to be there. But I think people, like when we talk about brand, you kind of mentioned brand, and the fun part about the brand is the colors and the fonts and the name and all of that stuff. But that's where the shiny objects come in, because if you're not really clear on like what value you want to bring to what people, the other stuff is irrelevant.
Exactly.
Hey friend, can I give you permission today? Like, for real, your own permission slip. Permission to get clear, to cut out the noise, mostly the noise that is going on around in your own mind, in your own head. It's just swirling. And you're asking yourself questions like, why am I stuck? Why am I frustrated? Why am I not making progress on my goals? I want to invite you to a free clarity call with me, where we're going to dive in and we're going to identify what are the 3 main issues that are keeping you stuck. Number 2, what are the mindsets around those issues that are actually keeping you from solving for those issues? It's not our skill sets, it's our mindsets that keep us stuck and hold us back. And then number 3, identifying what are your next steps. We all have a next step, and we have 100% responsibility for those next steps. Your only next step right now is to go to the show notes and book your free clarity call so that we can work through this. I'm believing in you, and I cannot wait to see you on our clarity call. So, what would you say for those that are listening? They're like, oh my goodness, I am behind, or I need to kind of start from scratch again. What are some of those like brand foundations that they should be thinking about? And is there questions that you asked yourself or that you tell your clients to ask themselves? Yeah.
So the first thing I would say is get the thought of I am behind out of your head, because I got stuck in that trap for a long time of so-and-so has done X things and I haven't made the money I wanted to make, or I haven't had the clients I wanted to make. So I'm so far behind. So then it felt like I had to hustle more and I got burnt out faster. So number 1, know and respect yourself enough to say, and give yourself enough grace to say, I'm not behind. That you actually, I know you see it a lot and it feels kind of fluffy in saying that you're exactly where you need to be at the time you need to be there. And whatever spot you're sitting in, take that and learn from it. Take the pieces and learn from it. Don't push yourself harder than you need to because you will fall out of love with your business and then end up quitting.
Yeah.
You're going to get burnt out on what you're trying to sell. And then you're going to want to create a bunch of other things and feel in the same spot you're at now, just with a different project.
Yep.
But one of the things I ask my clients a lot is, well, the first piece of advice I always give them is I tell them that branding is not your website. It's not your fonts. It's not your colors. That's the fun part of it. That's the outside of your brand. But your brand and your business is a person. Yeah. You have to develop their identity. You have to develop their personality. It's kind of the boring stuff, right? Nobody likes to sit and work on their messaging because it's not fun. Picking colors is fun. Taking photos is fun. All of that is the fun part. The hard part and the part that takes the most work, but a lot of coaches don't talk about, is really developing the person your brand is. I always tell them it's a baby. When you're from your idea conception is like you're building it out. And then as you're kind of building it out, you're growing with your child. You're figuring out what personality you want it to have. You figure out how you want it to talk. Is it super sweary? Is it not sweary at all? Is it somewhere in the middle? Because you see, that's kind of one of the things, is it how do you talk to people? What's your voice? What do you want it to feel like when someone's in your space? And coming off of all of those foundations is going to decide what colors you use, what fonts you use.
Right.
How you are on the inside is going to tell you how you dress on the outside. Yeah. And those values, like what are the things you really believe in? What are the things that guide you as a person? What's kind of your compass? What's going to be your brand's compass? Because they can be different. They're aligned in a way, but they can be a little bit different in pieces where you want your brand to reach a certain target versus you as a person, where you might look like you're more extroverted on the outside in your brand and you're really bubbly that way, but really internally you're a little bit more like, I want to stay home. I just want to lounge on my couch type of thing. So they will have a little bit of nuances in between the two, but it's going to still be the guiding force. Those are going to be the things that when you have to make a decision, and it has to be a quick decision, you're going to be able to say, that serves me, that doesn't serve me. And I can move forward and not look back and say, oh, I have regret that I didn't go there, or I regret that I went there and I shouldn't have gone there.
Yeah.
So those are kind of like the pieces, the real foundations. And the main thing I really focus on for a little bit of time in my program is that finding your purpose for your brand and your mission of your brand, because those are the two things that when I felt like I was in that roller coaster of feast and famine, and I was in that famine low point going, I don't even know what's going to happen. I feel like throwing in the towel, that I looked at my mission statement and my purpose for my business, and it gave me extra motivation to say, just keep pushing through. Like everything will be fine. Everything works out. But this is why you're doing this. Don't give up. Yeah. So those are things, the key pieces I really focus on in the base of my program is finding those core values, finding your strong pillars, utilizing your strengths, and finding the things that are going to identify your brand as a person. And then we dress it up. Then we have the fun part. But it's really getting into that nitty gritty that I focus on the most, because that's the stuff that's, no matter how many times you pivot your business, you evolve your business, you change your business, that's always something you can come back to.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, I'm a visual person. So when you said you get to dress it up, I'm thinking about the body, right? Like you can't put clothes on an empty body. Like if there's no body there, you can't put clothes on them. You can't dress them up. So what is the foundation? What is the body of your business? And how do you want that to look? And there's all different shapes and sizes of humans, and there's all different shapes and sizes of businesses. And I mean, even mine, I think about my journey when I first launched my very first course was in 2019. And my brand is changed so much and evolved. The value of my brand has not. The mission of my brand, for the most part, has not changed. Who I am in the brand has not changed, but who I serve has evolved a little bit, and how I serve them has evolved a little bit. And honestly, it took someone I remember in a mastermind, and he was my coach at the time, and he was like, the way you're saying that and the way you're titling that, it's never going to sell, which it had sold. And he was being a little extreme, but it was kind of like you said, like, this is my baby. Like I've spent so much time on this. And that was really hard to kind of accept a little bit. And that part of the brand has kind of been on hold ever since he said that. But it did get me thinking, right? Like,
Mhm.
how do I want to evolve this? Because the end goal is not what the title of my program is. The end of the goal is I want to reach women, right? And I want to
Right.
help them and I want to serve them. So if I have to like nix that title or change this or change that to reach
Mhm.
more women, that was my mission. And so I love that you said that. Like those parts, the fonts and the colors and all those things can evolve. And mine has from
Mhm.
a kind of a playful to a little bit more playful, sophisticated, I guess I would say, which definitely fits me a little bit
Yep.
better. But it took just getting started too. And I think there's some people who really need to hear that. Like
Mhm.
my brand has evolved since 2019, right? And your
Yep.
brand is going to continue to evolve because you're going to continue to figure out again that person that you're wanting to serve and how you want to serve them and things can shift and that's okay. Seasons of life change sometimes to where you're like, I want to serve this person now because I'm in this season, or I just overcame that and now I want to help someone else overcome that.
Mhm.
So
Right. And I love that you say that it changes, like it evolves, because I'm currently in the middle of a rebrand at the moment.
bless
Like
you,
as we're,
child. Bless you,
speaking
child.
about it, it is a lot of extra work on the back end. Like nothing has changed on the front end yet because it's not ready, but
Yeah.
it also has a like it evolves. It evolves with the season. It evolves as you get to know, okay, these are really the clients that I'm taking.
Mm-hmm.
Like your mission statement having evolved a little bit, right? It
Mm-hmm.
will evolve as your business goes, but number one main point is take messy action and start. That's
Yeah.
really, you'll find things and fine tune things as they go. But
Yeah.
it's kind of, I tell my clients this, it's kind of like driving a car. You can't just pick up and know how to drive. You're not going to start at, a Ferrari or a Maserati
Right.
or whatever,
Right.
whatever your luxury car is. You're starting with the Honda. You're starting
Yeah.
with the Saturn. You're starting with more of a basic car.
Mm-hmm.
Still
Mm-hmm.
good, but you're starting with the basics. You're not at that luxury point yet because maybe you won't appreciate the luxury point. Maybe it's that it's not the same. Like you're just going to look at it and be like, man, whatever, and not care. It's
Right. Yeah.
we're taking that starting point and then working toward, oh, I'm like have taken the steps. I've upgraded from an Accord to maybe like a
Mm-hmm.
Pilot, and then keep going up into that, whatever that luxury is. If you start there, you're never going to know really what it is that you wanted in the first place.
Yeah.
So you have to let it evolve.
Yeah, yeah. And just know it's a journey, like we
Mhm.
never arrive in this business. It's never like, yep, figured it out. I know everything. I'm good to go now, right? Because the industry is changing, the marketing changes, the messaging, how
Mhm.
people buy, how people respond is ever changing. But you're like the things you want to stand firm on and your convictions and your beliefs and the person that you want to help is that will help you get through all of those shifts and changes and your
Yep,
real reasons why you even started the business is what will help push you through those times too. So I think it's
for
just
sure.
understanding and having that mindset that this is a process. It's always going to be a process, and I'm either getting the result I want or the lesson I needed. Period. I mean, that's
I love that.
really, really what it boils down to. And I
Mhm.
think about some of our own self talk that we have when you were talking about driving the different car. I think about our kids, right? The things if
Yep.
our kids learning to walk, like he falls one time, we don't say, "Oh my goodness, you should have known how to walk already." We
Yes.
don't talk to them that way, but we talk to ourselves that way. Like you should have already had this done, or you should have
Mhm.
already been this far along in your business. When really you're going from a baby, an infant in a business as a new business
Yep.
owner to the toddler. And we know how toddlers can be. They have the terrible twos, and maybe you go
Yep.
through a terrible two season where, you're hearing lots of no's and then you're kind of evolving, and you're growing your
Mhm.
business into adulthood. And if we're not growing, we're dying. And so as humans and as business owners, so I think that's really important just to kind of capture that mindset.
Yep. And I think too, along with that is that you don't know what you don't know,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I was not a website designer. I was not a
Mm.
copywriter. I was not any of that.
Yeah.
I had to learn those skills. Did I
Yeah.
have some of them were a little bit easier and came more natural to me?
Hmm.
Sure, just as they would with anyone. But I learned how to create
Hmm.
email funnels. That was not something I was actually good at or even
Yeah.
know I had to do or was
Yeah.
something that was going to help me. I learned how to find systems that worked for me in my business and my season. And that's not something that comes naturally to a lot of people.
No, it's not me at all. All those things make me want to break out in hives.
Right? Still, like even now, I'm like, oh, that's a lot. Like I didn't know how to write a sales page.
No, but you
And
just do the best you can.
was it my first one great? No.
Mm-mm,
Did
mm-mm.
I do it?
Yeah.
Yes. But
And you
like,
didn't
is it
die.
evolving? Yes. In that point. So like, as you're raising this infant of your business, you're also an infant in, unless
Yeah.
you've kind of ridden this roller coaster a couple of times,
Yeah.
you're starting going, okay, what do I need? I'm not a
Mm-hmm.
graphic designer, but I know I need graphics. So I guess I'm going to figure it out.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's like something you've got to take in stride as well. You're not behind, you're just learning different skills. You
Yeah.
can see somebody like have amazing graphics and you're still learning graphics, but they could
Yeah.
have a crappy sales page and you have a killer sales page.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's like comparison is hard, especially when a lot of it is behind the scenes where
Mm-hmm.
you're not seeing what it looks like. You're comparing a pineapple to a dragon fruit, right? There's like
Right. Yeah.
no
Or your day 1 to their day 100, you know?
right.
And
Mm-hmm.
that's so easy to do when you follow people on social media because everything just looks amazing. You don't know how many people they have working for them, helping them.
Right.
And, I'm not saying there's anything bad about it. I think we should get help way before we think we are ready for it. We need that help. I'm
Absolutely.
saying that to myself because that's part of my goal for 2024 is to get some help again. But yeah, I think it's really easy to do on social,
Mm-hmm.
because we see that and we're like, oh, I should be there. No, you're right where you are.
Yep.
For a reason, and you're going to learn and grow from there. Stop resenting where you are and resisting it and just embracing it and doing the best you can with what you have.
Yeah.
So,
And there's some things might never really get good at. And so that's where okay, this is not my strong suit. I'm happy to find somebody to do that
yes,
for me.
yes.
That I'm not saying go out and like time one and blow all of your cash on getting everybody to do everything
Yeah.
for you, because there is value in learning it yourself.
Yeah.
But when you finally get to a point where it's like this, one, I either really don't like doing it, or two, I'm not really great at it. That's where you're like, okay, I'll put resources here, but I really like to do this piece. So I'm going to like build this piece out. So it's kind of that balance of where's my zone of genius and really figuring out what it is that your strength is for your business. And then saying, maybe these are strength, like I can do these, they're not great, but I can do them.
Yeah.
And then things that are like you're ultra resistant to, or you just don't understand or want to get, then that's like, okay, we'll have somebody do that too on the side.
Yeah. Well, one of the things people hear me talk about this on the podcast, but you kind of brought it up, like we can absolutely do something that maybe is not on our line of strengths, right? Like we do it all the time. But what people understand when they go through, the ProScan survey that I do with all of my clients is how much energy that's going to require of them to actually do that. Like what is your capacity for energy? And then how far out of your natural strengths are you working right now? Because it has like a real-time functionality piece. And so that's where the exhaustion comes from. That's when you start feeling the burnout, start losing the vision and all of that, because you're exhausting yourself by constantly working in areas outside of your strengths instead of having that harmony and saying, okay, I'm not naturally good at website design, but I'm going to have to do it today because I don't have anyone. So I'm going to spend 2 hours doing that. And then I'm going to do something that's actually in my strength to kind of refuel, kind of add some energy, add some fuel back into your tank. So tell us just a little bit about this business blueprint, creating a new business blueprint, maybe when you're going through this evolving, or if there's someone right now who's like, I just need a clean slate.
You need a clean slate. And this is from experience. This is also what I talk about in my program is kind of, we're going to just, whether you have something or not, right? Just like wipe it clean, wipe it out of your brain. And we're getting really back grounding to the basics of what is it really that you want to put in the world? What is it that your message needs to be shared into the world?
Yeah.
And then we talk about how to move forward from that. What pieces are in there? How can you include it in something else, right? Because everybody's kind of multi-passionate as an entrepreneur. And there's a lot of expertise in there. In maybe you really want to be a mindset spirituality coach, but you also are teaching them to be mindset spirituality people. And so you're going to need a business piece in there. You're going to want to have experience in saying, this is the things you need to do to set yourself up for success. So there's always going to be the piece that you really want to get out, and then the minimal pieces attached to it that are going to help you expand. whatever that is. So for me, it was really honing in on having people find these brand foundations and really focus on that. But also they needed, as I've scrolled over all of the interwebs and I've been in a lot of different programs and everything like that, that I realized most people are taking and copy paste, right? I've been in a mastermind where it was like the coach I had hired, the mentor I had hired, just got off the phone call with their mentor and just regurgitated the information to us via their notes. So it kind of was a mind click in my brain that says we regurgitate information, which is fine. You're going to get that everywhere. But how you regurgitate it is specific to you. And creating this brand and this business that is specific to you is all about creating a signature brand, signature course.
Right.
So finding your signature. Everybody's signature is very unique. No matter how many times you tried to forge your parents' signature, get out of whatever it was that you didn't want to participate in, it never was the same.
Yeah.
And you've sat and practiced. I mean, anybody can say that they never did this, but I know everyone has done this since they were tiny humans. Practice writing their name. You at least practiced your signature, whether it was with your dream boyfriend at the time, your celebrity crush, or your spouse. You practice writing your signature. And nobody can copy that, but also nobody can copy you. Nobody can copy your delivery. Nobody can copy your kind of that signature essence that you have. And so that's really, when you strip it all back, we start building your blueprint based on what you want to get out there, the little pieces that are there, and what really makes you, to shine to the world, because you want to have your signature stamp on the world. Everybody has a different legacy they want to leave. Everybody has a different definition of their impact, all of that sort of thing. And so through my program, I can't tell you that it's not cookie cutter, right? Because entrepreneurship is not cookie cutter and your signature is not cookie cutter. So I want you to have that, but I can't tell you like, okay, let's try this piece, and this piece. Like, let's build it out this way, unless I really know where you want to sit, because your blueprint is going to look different than my blueprint based on all of the foundational pieces. That's going to move you forward, because maybe you really like to just reach out to people and do like cold messaging, cold DMs. Like maybe that's your jam. And that's not my jam. So I would be really resistant to that and be like, this is a waste of time, because you're just telling me that I need to do all of these things. So creating this blueprint is really scaling back everything and wiping yourself clean, whether you have something or not, and starting with just your heart and then working backwards into the logistics.
Yeah. I think that's such a really great message, because what I hear a lot of times when I'm working with mompreneurs that maybe have a new vision for a new business, or maybe they just started this business, is that it's not original, right? Or, someone else is already doing that. And I'm like, how many Starbucks do you see on your way to work? Or how many McDonald's, like literally go to the car dealerships area. There are like 10 right beside each other. And like, there are plenty of people, and what makes it unique is you, right? That yours is a special sauce. It's not the systems and necessarily all of that. Yes, you can kind of create your own framework based on yourself, but I think a lot of people don't even go for things. A lot of moms don't even go for their dreams because they're like, someone else is already doing that. What's so special about me? And so I love that you start that as the foundation, because as someone who literally just launched her website this summer, if I would have gone to the website developer or my copywriter and didn't have this foundation of the brand, it would have it already took longer than I expected. It would have taken even longer, because they'd be like, I'm trying to build a website, but you don't even know what you want to say, how you want to say it, who you're serving. And that's the fun part, right? Oh, I want to have my brand and my website, but you have to have this, because they can't read your mind and they don't know your heart and your passion and who you're trying to serve and how you want to serve them. And so I guess just two things really that you said is you all have your own unique sauce. You really do. You have your unique ingredient in the recipe that someone needs to hear, because it's been put on your heart for a reason. And we just have to be willing to seek some of that information out and kind of pull back the onion. I kind of feel like it's what I feel like I was going through in the braining process, was like peeling back this onion, like, okay, I got to get deeper. I got to get deeper. What does she look like? Who is she hanging out with? What are her struggles? Kind of going through all of that. So I just appreciate the way you describe the process, because I do think so many of us do it backwards. I did when I first started it, but I learned, and I've evolved since then. So I'm proof that you can mess up.
Backwards. Because you get so caught up in, I've got to make X dollars to show that my business is successful, which is great in theory, right?
Yeah.
We think it's great in theory, but is success really saying I have made $10,000 one month and that's it? Or is it saying I started at $3,000 and then I made to 5 and then I made it to 10 and then I consistently made 10 and then I consistently made more. That's the definition of success, is that it's not what I say. It's not like the one hit wonder.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the song that's going to last for years and way beyond, even when you're done, that you still have, everybody still will think, oh yeah, like it may have taken an extra year. It may have taken 5 extra years. It may have taken 10 extra years. Yeah. Depending on whatever is going on in your space. But you made it there and you really stepped into that person that you wanted to be. You stepped into that dream life. Yeah. It didn't matter how long it took, but you got there.
Yeah. Yeah. You didn't give up. Yeah. Just kept going. Well, we can talk for like a whole nother hour. You're just so easy to talk to. We'll put links to everything in the show notes for how people can connect with you. Yep. But I'd love for you, like, if you could share with all the mompreneurs of the world, with the podcast, who knows who's listening, what's one thing that you would want them to know?
One thing, I feel like that's a loaded question because it changes all the time and it's not ever the same advice. But at this moment in this season that I'm in my business, is that taking the time to really build out those foundations will allow you to move forward in ways you never imagined. Yeah. By taking the time that I did to do all of that, I've been able to get different media spots. I've been able to get pitched to different places. Has my client list grown the way I wanted it to? No. But I've been able to get my message more out to more people in the space that I wanted to be in the first place, that they will find me in that space. But it doesn't mean I'm just sitting going, okay, I'm just waiting for everybody to roll in from this podcast episode, right? Right. But I'm still doing all the behind the scenes work and growing my current clientele and nurturing them, but also finding ways to reach out to people and gain that confidence in saying, this is where I'm at. This is my brand. This is who I am. Yeah. You can say yes or no, and that's fine. Right. But I just want to share my message with your audience or with you or whatever that looks like. So taking the time did take longer than I expected, but it's given me a lot of base to be able to say yes to things that are serving me, to turn off shiny object syndrome and be able to say, that's awesome if you made 10K off of that in a month. But that probably won't work for me at this point. Yeah. So I'm just going to pass this time, and it might come around again and I might say yes, it might not. I don't know. Yeah. But right now, that's not where I need to focus. Yeah. So I'm going to stay in my boundary. Yeah. I love that. Foundation and keep it simple, right? Yep. Build that firm foundation and then keep it simple, sister. Well, I love this. And I thank you so much for coming on the show. This was a lot of fun. And again, we'll put the links to everything in the show notes so y'all can find Mallory. And I thank you again so much for coming on the show. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. All right, friends. Well, we will catch you on the next episode. And I'm believing in you always. Well, that's a wrap, friends. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. I really hope it met you right where you are and gave you some encouragement for your day. Could you do me the biggest favor and leave me a rating and review? Seriously, it's the best way for you to support the show. And while you're there, be sure to follow the show so you never miss an episode. Thanks again. And until next time, I am believing in you always.